Men are ambitious, women are ambivalent. Men strut their stuff, women tone it down in order to conform. Men like to be noticed, women like to get on with the work. These are just some of the differences that cause women to lose out in the workplace, according to the authors of this new book, The Glass Wall. We're in London talking to Sue Unerman and Kathryn Jacob. Sue Unerman is the CSO of Mediacom, the UK's largest media agency, and Kathryn Jacob, you are CEO of Pearl & Dean, the most well-known player in the UK's cinema advertising industry. Welcome.
Hi, thank you.
So you talk about that there is no glass ceiling anymore, but there's a glass wall. What's the difference?
Well, the glass ceiling was abolished effectively in the UK by legislation in the 1970s. And I think everyone thought that women would come through then to top jobs. And certainly Kathryn and I started out our career in the 1980s. And we thought by the time we reached a senior level, every other boss would be a woman. That clearly isn't the case.
You really believe that?
At the time, yeah. My first boss was a woman. So it seemed to me to be only natural that would come through. And I think we were told that women were coming through, just as young women today are told, it's fine, there's plenty of you in the pipeline, you'll come through. But you look at the statistics and women haven't come through. So we set out to work out why that was, and we came across this idea of the glass wall instead, the glass divide, a kind of invisible barrier that either stops you as a woman from progressing, and it's something that you need to change in terms of your behaviour at work, or it's a glass wall between you and the conversations that are going on that you're not having and you're not involved with, or a cultural glass wall where your language is not the same as the language of the men in the organisation.
Mm. And the glass wall exists on the other side as well for men who are running businesses, because they can't understand why women aren't doing well, because there are quotas and there's affirmative action programs, targets, but it's still not happening. I mean, we still in the UK have more men called David who are running top companies than we have women. It's a really, really interesting scenario where everyone thinks, you know, that the problem has been solved, and actually the problem hasn't been solved, because I still go to too many meetings where I am the only woman.
So this glass wall, can you just kind of lean in through it? Like Sheryl Sandberg would put it.
Well, I think lean in is all about putting your hand up and working even harder. And actually, if you're a working mother, I don't think you can work any harder because you're already balancing enough priorities anyway. It's not about leaning in and working harder, it's working smarter and working out what the techniques are to help you get on. And Sheryl Sandberg talks a lot about, putting your hand up and volunteering. I think women do enough of that already. And why is it we have to work 3 times as hard as men to be seen as they're equal? Why isn't it just the quality of our work that enables us to be promoted, rather than the fact that we're producing a huge volume of it? It's insidious.
And actually it's the system that's at fault, not women. Women don't need to work any harder. There is a toxic system that isn't good for business, isn't good for all kinds of talented people actually, whether they are men or women, and that's what needs to change.
So men are ambitious, women are ambivalent. Let's talk about that. So women are statistically much more ambitious when they first arrive at a job, but then 2 years into their careers, women's goals kind of fall off a cliff. Why is that, Kathryn?
I think it's because women don't know how to game the system, actually, and we turn up thinking it's all going to be incredibly fair and it's going to be like school, and if we work really, really hard and we pass our exams, everyone's going to notice us and then we'll be duly rewarded. And actually work isn't like that, and men are much, much better of playing the system. Men are much more likely to think I want a pay rise, so I'm going to go in and I'm going to say, hey, I've been working really, really hard and I think I deserve a pay rise. And the person in charge may say, well, that's interesting, it's not right, it's not quite the time, the cash flow's a bit tight. Men will then walk out of that meeting thinking, right, I've put my mark down, I'm going to go back in 6 weeks' time and see what they've done for me. Okay. Women will walk in and say, I'm terribly sorry, have you thought about giving me a pay rise, if you don't mind, because I've been working quite hard. No, really, I have. And then if the person says, oh, we've got a tight cash flow, then they'll think, oh my God, I've destroyed my relationship with my boss, they hate me, I can never go back again. I mean, we now have one woman who asked for a pay rise and it was just the wrong time. And it took her 2 years to go back in to ask for another pay rise, because she thought, if I ask again, they'll think I'm pushing my luck, which is just ridiculous.
I must remember that part of my job is telling the people I work for how good I am at my job.
Yes.
And if you get a really great email from a client saying, thank you so much, that was just the most, fabulous piece of work you did, don't just pat yourself on the back, forward it to your boss and say, just in case you meet this client in a period of time, I thought you'd like to know how happy he was with this piece of work. And women are really reluctant to do it because they think it's showing off and it's drawing attention to yourself. And actually, we need women to kind of show off a bit more, because doing really, really great work that no one knows that you're doing, it is great, but it's not going to get you on the consideration list. And it's interesting, we did a talk and someone talked about the panels that they have when they talk about promoting people, and that's how you get pushed forward. You have people who talk about the work that you've done, and if no one knows the work that you've done, how on earth are they going to promote you? Why? And you've just got to step outside your comfort zone a bit and have solid, concrete evidence of the work that you've done that you can substantiate and which is empirically evidenced, and no one's going to turn around and go, oh, you're showing off, and we'll just go, well, thanks for letting me know. And women are really ambivalent about the ambitious word. They think ambition means to be selfish, heartless, stabbing people in the back, etc. Actually, ambition isn't all those things. Ambition is just wanting to be the best and fulfill your potential.
But isn't the same ambition perceived very differently in men and women? So just look at Hillary Clinton, for example. So if you Google Bernie Sanders and ambition, you will go to all these websites about Bernie Sanders' ambitious plans for America. If you Google Hillary Clinton and ambition, you will come to all these websites about how ruthless she is, pathological ambition, and it's all for her own gain, etc. How do we get around that? I mean, because you're saying women should be more ambitious, but if we are perceived as being bitches for the same kind of ambitions that would be applauded in a man, that's kind of a trap, isn't it?
It's an interesting question. I mean, maybe we need to reclaim the word.
Yeah.
Maybe we need to do a bit of that. Maybe we need to have some T-shirts printed. This is what ambition looks like.
Yes.
Because it is just about wanting to do a good job and be fulfilled in your career. And I can't bear the fact that women are kind of counting themselves out of things that they would be better at doing. So the fact that I mean, I would say, if I was asked to get the next job, Sue, would you claw out the eyes of the people around you and stamp on their heads? I would say no, not actually. Now, does that make me more better at the next job or worse at the next job than someone who would do that? It makes me better qualified, doesn't it, at the next job? And I think there is this, The Apprentice started last night in the UK, and there is this idea of giving 150%, which is nonsense, because you actually can't. Sorry everyone, you actually can't give 150%. 100% is it. But secondly, it's just rhetoric. I mean, let's get on to what makes the business healthy, what makes the country healthy, what makes Europe healthy. How do we make sure that we get the best return from all of the training that people are putting into all kinds of talent across business? Let's reclaim the word.
Because I think it's a very powerful word, and we shouldn't be afraid of it, because after all, it is only a word.
Ambitious to be better, ambitious for everybody to do well. There is a certain amount of you have to be good at your job and very, very pretty, and everybody has to love you. And well, that's actually not what you get paid for. You get paid for being good at your job and for taking everybody with you. And I think one of the strongest messages really is don't worry about everybody being your friend in the office, because actually they aren't your friend. You I'm sure you have lots of friends, but Kathryn has lots of friends. But not necessarily all of them are the people that she works with, and the same is true of me. And I think that focus of having to be perfect in every respect seems to me to be much more feminine than a human trait, and not particularly useful.
Because one of the advice you offer in the book is your boss is not your dad, and your work colleagues are not your siblings or your children. So do women get these things confused more than men? Yeah.
They see themselves, you know, it's quite often people say, well, obviously I'm the office mother. No,
Yes.
you're not.
No, you're not.
You just
They're
work
not your
with
children.
them.
Yeah.
You know, they're not going to turn up at your funeral.
You know.
Exactly. So, you know, you're not inviting them around for Christmas lunch.
Yeah.
So, no, you are there to contribute as best you can, you know, be a good person and fulfill yourself. You're not there to facilitate everyone else's fantastic career rise while you sit there making the tea and offering sympathy to people. And that doesn't mean you lack empathy with people. It doesn't mean that you're a bad person. In fact, you're probably a better person, because what you are able to do is, instead of patting people on the head and saying, oh, how dreadful, you know, have a biscuit, I'm so sorry you've had a bad time. Your job is to turn around and say to the people that you work with, that was a really great meeting, thank you very much, but next time, you know, I just thought maybe you should do this. You're not there to make everyone love you.
Dave Trott, who is a creative director, brilliant creative director in the UK, and he very good at one-liners. And he said to me when I was talking to him that his advice to his daughter when she first went out into the world of working in a creative agency was, what you need to understand is that men insult each other all the time at work, but they don't mean it, and women compliment each other all the time at work, and they don't mean it. Now, whether that's entirely true or not, I don't know, but it takes you into that other area of, also, if you're in the room and the men are insulting each other, don't be frightened by it. I mean, it's not again, there's all this nervousness about speaking up in case you put yourself in the spotlight. And we did a session of very senior people, women, yesterday, and it came up yet again, which is what happens if, you know, someone else takes your idea in a meeting, and what should you do about it? And the answer is, it's kind of not the end of the world. And as you know, as we've said, there are many terrible things that, you know, you might encounter in life, but being a bit embarrassed in a meeting is not one of them.
No,
I mean,
it's not going to fundamentally change the course of your life.
You'll learn from it.
Yeah.
So men insult each other all the time at work without meaning it. So it's the kind of, I think it's more, we have that more in Britain. It's the banter, the office banter. It's a bit less, I think, in Sweden. But and women compliment each other all the time without meaning it. What's worse?
Oh, I think what's worse is taking either side of it too seriously.
Right.
Actually, that's what I think is what's worse. If there's insults going on, then quite frankly, I think the advice is have a few in your handbag, have a bit of banter prepared in your handbag so that you can get it out and use it in the room. It can be very hard to think of in the moment. And if you're in that sort of culture, you know, maybe the culture needs to change, but also equally, don't get frightened of it, don't get driven down by it. It's very nice that we compliment each other. I think you are both looking lovely today, and I think it would be very nice if there was more of that. But I think the thing is, don't get fazed.
No. I mean, the issue about it is that it is only one meeting, and the insulting thing it's just like chimps grooming each other, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's that whole kind of thing about
it's bromance.
It's bromance. I mean, they can't talk about their feelings because boys don't talk about their feelings. So that's where the banter thing comes from, because it's a bit of, we've got a bit of shared heritage.
Oh, right.
That's all it is.
So women's career trajectory sort of tends to lose steam in their late 20s, and that's often put down to maternity leave, children, these sort of things. But you say it's more about confidence.
Yes.
Why is that, Kathryn?
It's absolutely, because what happens when you first turn up at work is, we have a highly achieving girls now. You know, they do brilliant at school. I mean, in the UK, they're doing better at university. We have more female applicants to be doctors, etc., etc. And then they get into work and they start working and they think, right, I'm just going to put my head down and maybe it's just me. And then actually at that kind of period of time, they suddenly think, actually, it's not me. It's this entire system and I'm never going to change it. And so what the heck am I doing? And I think that is the point where your confidence dips, is you suddenly run out of road of, well, what do I do now? I've tried everything I think I know. And also women fall into that category of, oh, it's just me then. Yeah. Everyone else is doing really, really brilliantly. That whole, it's just me. And it's not just you. I mean, the reason why we write the book is there's loads of stories in there where people who've read the book say, God, I thought that just happened to me. Crikey, there was one other person. I mean, actually, that book is probably an approximation of lots of people's stories boiled down. And so I think their confidence runs out because they think, well, now what do I do? Because I'm on the verge of going to the next stage of my career and I don't feel confident enough about it. I don't feel I can handle it. and this book is designed to help them address that. And it's not just the motherhood thing, there's a generational thing too, which is that particularly in the UK, people are having children when they're older. And fathers now want to play a more active part in children's upbringing. And one of the things that's holding men back from doing that and stopping women kind of achieving their potential as well is this horrendous culture of presenteeism, which some companies have, which is you have to be in at 8 a.m. and if you leave at 7 p.m, someone shouts, "Oh, thanks for popping in for a half day." I mean, you know, I talked to someone, well, there's a story in the book about a chap who says, a woman who says, you know, she wants to go back to work, but she can't because her husband works in this horrendous culture where, and most of them aren't doing any work. I mean, that's just the joke about it. From 6 o'clock onwards, they're all playing kind of some hideous game online or what have you. But you just have to be there because being there is really important. And that culture is ridiculous, you know, and you look at, you know, other cultures. If you look at France, which has got a 35-hour week, you know, they are still a productive nation. They're still they're doing well relatively, but they're doing okay in terms of how they work. So why is it we feel that we've got this
high proportion of women on boards actually in France?
Why is it we feel that being there is more important than what you do? So I'd rather have I'd rather have 24 brilliant hours a week from a really, really high achieving woman who works than 5 days from a kind of average bloke.
And we all know how Britain's productivity numbers look, and they're a lot worse than a country like Sweden, where definitely people work less and it's more family friendly.
But that's because work just expands to fill the time.
What's the tiara syndrome?
Do you want to talk about that?
Well, it's just the idea that if you sit and wait, if you work really hard, if you're very, very good and very, very nice to everyone, somebody will just come and present you with the crown of the next job or the next promotion. And it's back to that point again of, no, you have to go and get it. You just have to go and get it. You know, I can think now of several women that I've talked to about their careers who would do anything for the business that they work for in terms of working all the hours God sends, coming in at the weekend, covering for their team, working, at the client for days. They would do absolutely anything for their job other than tell their boss how good they are at their job. And when I say that to them, they go, I really can't do that, Sue. And they're very, very upset about the notion of it. And I think the answer is stop it. Yeah. Stop putting yourself down. Just try it. What you can't do is wait for, the Prince Charming to come and wake you up from the sleep or bring you down from the Rapunzel-style castle and give you a C-suite job, because it's just not going to happen. Your boss doesn't care about your career. Yeah. He does not care about your career. He cares about his career. Yeah. And if one of his KPIs is your success, then he won't stand in the way of it. But most of his KPIs will be about profitability and the success of the business and the success of the team overall, not you. So if you're sitting there waiting for him to solve your next problem, he's not a mind reader. You have to kind of go and tell him what to do.
So what should you do from a management perspective?
So what you need to do from a management perspective is, if you have a woman who isn't talking about the work that she does, seek them out. And if you have a very sort of aggressive culture and you feel that women are being talked over in meetings, look out for that. Always be conscious of the fact that you have a talent base that is bigger than just the people who are shouting the most and who are desperate for your attention. It's a bit like having shouting children. There's always a quiet child in the corner who can probably do really, really great work, and you're just not noticing them. So the idea for businesses is to always be aware of the talent base that you've got, to think about the broadness of the talent you have, and maybe just not the one who's jumping up the most.
So how do you go about asking for a promotion if you're a woman? Women find this very hard.
So you need to lay the groundwork. So you need to be very, very diligent in recording your successes. If you've got KPIs, then don't wait until the day before, your chat to kind of update them. It's a narrative. You create a narrative of success, delivery, suitability for the next role, and you talk about why you'd want it and why you'd be good at it. Measure yourself against your compatriots, against people in other areas, and if you think you're underpaid, turn around and say, I'd like a pay rise. And if you can't give it to me all now because there's a cash flow problem, great, give me this much now and this much then. Don't be grateful. They don't employ you because they're a charity, because they like you. They employ you because you're really good at your job. You know, so let's stop feeling really grateful that they've given you somewhere to go and sit for 5 days a week that's quite warm and stops you annoying people in coffee shops. They get you in there because you're really good, and you've just got to start believing that a bit more.
This is about power really, more than about gender. If you have gamed the system, whether you're a man or a woman, and reached the top, you've been successful by gaming the current system. The question now is how you change that system, and not every man or every woman has taken that question on. I think we have at MediaCom in the UK. I'd like to see everybody taking it on, because this is everybody's responsibility in business.
Thank you very much. So women need to learn how to game the system, but all businesses and management also need to realise that women approach the system differently. Thank you very much, Kathryn and Sue, and thank you for watching.
Thank you.
And they will just talk, then they'll have a little...
Just have a little chat.